Good evening. I am here again with the Earl on the train. This time we are at Chapter 14. Chapter 14. Setting Sail. Persons troubled with seasickness should choose a berth as near the middle of the ship as possible. Well, we can ask to change rooms, I imagine. I'm certain the crew will understand. Nick only grunted. Ida glanced at the steamship docked nearby, sitting deceptively still in the quiet water of the harbor. Soon enough it would be bouncing across the Mediterranean, and Nick would be only too happy to trade his situation for an early morning on dry land. Unless she could convince him to try some of the cures in her guidebook. She looked back down at the text. Oh, dear. What? Ida read the next line. Aperient medicine taken the day before will often prevent an attack. I'm afraid it's too late for that. Good. I don't fancy spending half a day on the toilet. Ida's eyes darted back and forth, looking to see if anyone had heard him. Nicholas Masterson, that is true. Appallingly inappropriate to speak of in a civilized conversation. You brought up the matter, and it's far too early to be civilized. It's 8:30. And you woke me an hour ago, and I haven't had a single sip of coffee or the smallest bite of breakfast. Oh, but that's for the best. Your stomach needs to be cleansed and relaxed at time of departure. Rubbish. Ida glanced away to hide her smile. Really, she ought not to take pleasure in his surliness, but this new punishment was such an improvement. Not speaking to him had been effective, but it had driven her so mad she'd gone and spilled far too much information to random strangers at a restaurant, and possibly put them both in danger. Playing tour guide gave her plenty to talk about, provided him with useful advice, and maintained a certain distance in their relationship. A sadly necessary distance. Her anger, frustratingly, had done nothing to diminish her attraction to him. His voice still warmed her insides. The heat in his amber eyes made her shiver. Too often she reminisced about their kiss, and the night spent dozing in his arms. The worst of it was, as arrogantly high-handed as his behavior had been, she knew he had done it out of genuine concern for her well-being. He cared for her, and he was doing all he could to make her delayed passage to India comfortable and safe. She despaired of maintaining an appropriate measure of fury under such trying circumstances. If only he would admit he had been wrong, that he should have given consideration to her thoughts and her feelings, that she was an adult, competent and capable in making her own choices, whether he agreed with them or not. Then she could forgive him. They could talk things out, and he could atone for his mistake. But he was stubborn. Well, she could be too. She returned to her book. 3 drops of creosote in a little water half an hour before embarkation, and repeated every half hour on a piece of sugar, is an excellent palliative, she read. That sounds revolting, and regardless, I haven't any creosote. Nor have I, but I did procure some ginger root. You should try it. The book also says medicinal potions to relieve symptoms of the seasickness for longer duration are often available on board for purchase by first-class travelers. His brows drew together. No potions. No? But it seems the best option, effective and long-lasting. Is the price a concern? I can make arrangements to pay a portion. I will not drink potions. She flinched at the harsh tone of his words. I don't understand. Why can't you drink them? I can drink them. I will not. You carry potions on your person, but you don't drink them? Correct. Even if they could be of help to you? Even then. He flipped his watch open and stared at it for a moment, then snapped it closed without a word. I see. Or rather, I don't. How can you call yourself a potion specialist without drinking any potions? He gave a bark of harsh laughter. Perhaps I'm better termed a recovering potions specialist. Understanding dawned. Oh, a bad experience with recreational potions? My father hosts parties of that sort, and I understand such things happen from time to time. The experiencers were always what I desired them to be, but they were all too frequent. Ah, I'm sorry. Was that even the right thing to say? Ida fought a blush, embarrassed to have driven him to admit his weakness. Nick turned to stare out at the shimmering waters of the Mediterranean, clasping his hands behind his back. Addiction is a funny thing. I've known people who indulge frequently, and don't suffer for it. Among the less fortunate, some men crave only the effects of the potions. Others hunger for the very serum that gives them their potency. What did you crave? Both. And do, not did. It doesn't go away. It merely becomes manageable. More or less. There are good days and bad. Ida made a thorough study of the back of his coat. She had no words to offer him. Nothing seemed adequate comfort, and she feared to tread on his vulnerability. "You help." Her mouth dropped open in shock. "Pardon?" "The pleasant timbre of your voice, the different scents you wear each day, as unique and interesting as yourself. The way you smile and laugh at every new sight. Your relentlessly positive outlook. You brighten every day. You make me remember there is joy in the world." "Nick!" Her hand settled on his arm before she could think better of it. He whirled around, and their bodies collided. All the air went out of her lungs. His head bent towards hers. She ought to have taken a step back, turned away, anything but tilting her lips upward in invitation. His lips brushed over hers, sending sparks skittering across her skin. His hand lifted to cup her face, his thumb grazing her cheek in his silken caress. "Strawberries again today," he murmured, "like the day we met." And then his mouth claimed hers, kissing with such desperate hunger she could do no more than cling to him and let herself be swept up in the madness. He was drowning, and she had just jumped in after him, not knowing whether she would save him or merely be washed away with him. Berries, God! He pulled her tightly against him, pressing kisses along her jaw and nipping gently on her earlobe. Ida let out an incoherent groan. Her entire body was afire. Her fingers dug into the wool of his jacket, steadying herself as the world swayed beneath her. She kissed whatever part of him she could reach, his glistening lips, his stubbled jaw, the exposed skin of his neck where his pulse beat rapidly in time with her own. He was all fire and passion and strength. "Berries," he moaned again. She sucked at the sensitive skin of his throat. "Say my real name." He stiffened and took a step back, his hands falling away from her. "God damn!" He swiped a hand through his hair, undoing the half-hearted attempt he had made to tame it. "What am I doing?" Ida's chest heaved. She could still feel the scratch of his unshaven jaw against her lips. His musky scent filled her nostrils. Her legs wobbled as if she were already at sea. The world drifted slowly back into focus. Nick's words filtered into her brain. What were they doing? And in public, no less. Even married couples were not so demonstrative. She widened the space between them, gathering herself. As the passion of the moment subsided, anger flooded in to take its place. Anger at him for putting her in this situation in the first place, but also at herself for forgetting that he wasn't to be trusted. She smoothed out her skirts and regarded him with what she hoped to be cool detachment. "You forget yourself, Mr. Masterson. We aren't friends." "No." The single husky syllable vibrated in her chest, the weight of his inflection speaking for him. "I want you. I crave you. We aren't friends. We are more." Ida turned away, retrieving the guidebook that had slipped to the ground during their embrace. "It appears boarding has begun. I will see that you get some ginger root and that our cabins are in a suitable location." "As the lady desires." He needed to stop talking. Every word melted her insides. Why had she been so foolish as to kiss him again? "I desire you not to be seasick for the entire journey." "Your concern is appreciated." Ida strode toward the ship. This wasn't working. She needed to stop talking to him again. Clearly she couldn't control herself otherwise. She joined the crush of other passengers, focusing on looking for the fake American couple who had joined them for lunch in Rome. Nick hovered behind her, his looming presence both a comfort and an irritant. "I have seen no sign of the faux Americans thus far," he murmured. "Neither have I. Hopefully they've failed to follow us here and you aren't in any danger." "Why do you insist they're after me?" "Because you are a spy, even if an amateur one." "But the threatening message came to you." She waved a hand in dismissal. "Probably from my brother, angry I wouldn't heed him. Besides, we are traveling your path now. Someone rather rudely interrupted mine, if you recall. Someone who seems to think he has the right to decide my life for me." She didn't need to look to know he was cringing. "I don't have the right. I'm sorry." "So you've said. Enjoy your voyage, Mr. Masterson. I'll send you the seasickness remedy." She lifted her skirts and hurried off. A short while later she reached their adjoining cabins, near enough to the middle of the ship that she didn't think changing rooms would be of any benefit. Nick had followed her the entire way, but he hadn't tried to say anything further, and she had neither looked at nor spoken to him. She unlocked her door and slipped inside, leaving him to his own devices. Like the first-class hotel rooms they had occupied in Rome, her cabin was lit by a potion-fueled lamp, mounted on the wall near the door. She turned the light up brighter and froze in shock. The handle of a knife jutted straight up from her pillow. She skirted around the bed, not taking her eyes off the weapon. Another warning, this time from a villain who had been in her very bedchamber. A villain who might still be in the room. She flung open the closet door, half expecting some ruffian to spring out at her, but the cupboard was empty. No one lurked under the bed, either, and the small chamber contained no other possible hiding places. She was safe, for the time being. Ida pulled the knife from the pillow and examined it. A simple steak knife, probably stolen from a kitchen. She tucked it beneath the edge of her mattress, where she would have easy access to it in the event of an intruder. Whoever her stalker was, he wouldn't find her a cowering, helpless miss. She checked the lock on the door, then wedged the chair from the dressing table beneath the handle. Hugger-mugger, she cursed, plopping onto the bed. Nick was right. Someone was after her. Whether to scare her away or do her real harm, she didn't know. But she couldn't go on pretending that everything was normal. She would have to take steps to protect herself. Her eyes fell on the connecting door that led to Nick's bedchamber. She pushed herself up off the bed, strode over, and unlocked it. That was chapter 14. I'll see you again tomorrow night. Good night.